Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. It's Mr. Nelson. According to my count, this is week 4 of the coronavirus. And I want to just kind of walk through how the last week went and what the AP College Board actually released about the test. So far, I've got to say, on my end, assignments are working fine. Try not to give you too much. About two-thirds of you guys are responding, which, let's be honest, on a normal week, that's probably where I'm at anyway. I'm just impressed that people are actually doing homework this period of time, so I'm going to roll with it. Hopefully, I'm not overwhelming you. Last week was more for completion. I was just trying to see how everything worked and who was showing up. And if you did anything, I gave you credit for it. Basis is pushing that we start to grade these a little bit more sternly. And I will tell you, I am going to be very generous. If you walk through the steps and do anything, I'll give you all the points that you need. Likewise, I don't have a whole lot of people asking me questions about stuff, and that's fine. I canceled, of course, the live chat simply because I don't know what you guys really want to hear from me other than hearing my voice, and I can just give you these little videos and then you guys can see my pretty face. And I'm willing to have a live chat. I just don't know when or how to do it. Or anybody cares. Likewise, one of the things I did realize is that everyone is using Microsoft Live and Google Classroom is not being used. I think I had 1 or 2 submissions from each class on Google Classroom. So at this point, I'm just going to roll with Microsoft Live. I'm going to stop posting things in Google Classroom. I'll still use it for some things if I need to. So I want to talk first about the AP test and what we learned this last week. You're seeing right now my screen, what I see when I log into College Board. They gave us a bunch of new information about it. You can see the exam date is going to be May 20th. We are Mountain Time, aren't we? Mountain Time with no daylight savings, so I imagine that's when we're going to be taking it. It's 45 minutes. You're going to respond to one question. You're going to have 5 minutes to upload your response. I'm going to be honest, I don't know how the heck that's going to work. I can't imagine that College Board servers are going to be able to handle hundreds of thousands of students uploading responses within a 5-minute period, but we'll figure that out. They must have some sort of way in which to solve that issue. But anyway, yeah, 5 minutes to upload your response. On the essays I've been giving you, I've been putting a 5-minute, 45-minute timer in there just because I want to see what happens when you surpass that amount of time. And some of you have told me that you get locked out of the question, and I imagine that's what's going to happen. So I'm going to keep playing with that just so we can kind of get a feel for it. Good news or bad news, it's going to be a rhetorical analysis question. The second essay question, right? The one that we've been practicing on all year because I felt like it's the hardest for most students to respond to. That's what the test is going to be on, which I think was expected. They talk a little bit about the question description. It's going to be a passage of nonfiction prose, 600, 800 words, kind of the same amount they always have. They are wanting you to write a thesis that analyzes the writer's rhetorical choices. Remember, we're going to be working on that sophistication point, right? What's the larger context that this argument's being placed into, and wrapping that into everything else that's happening. Select and use evidence, of course. Explain the line of reasoning. Demonstrate understanding, right? You guys got to kind of understand it. Units are not going to be covered 8 and 9. You guys don't need to worry about any of that. But that's where we're at, right? One question, 45 minutes. You're going to type it in the College Board MyAP website, and then you're going to upload it 5 minutes later. So we're going to read rhetorical analysis. You're going to need to quote and cite sources, and so that's what we're going to practice using the AP for MyAP dashboard to do so. But that's where we're at right now. So there's a couple other things I wanted to address before we leave the MyAP conversation. And these are things that I don't know how they're really going to operate, but they've kind of popped up on my radar, and I wanted to address them in some sort of way. First, I don't know how the timer actually works. When you guys log into the prompt and answer, my guess is the moment you start reading the question, that 45-minute timer starts. I don't know if you see it. I assume you did. And then once the timer's done, you can't type anymore, is my guess of how that's working, but I don't know. Certainly be sure to let me know if I'm off base completely, because I do want to understand what you guys are seeing on your back end. Colleges have all guaranteed, College Board, that they will honor these tests. There's a big concern about plagiarism and cheating, but I think the colleges at least are going to give you guys a pass this year. Here's my argument about a lot of this. Let's talk about plagiarism first. recognize that you are all going to type in an answer into a box that they can then copy and paste and search through any number of different websites to figure out if you're plagiarizing. I'm not really worried about plagiarizing. I can't imagine that anyone's going to upload the same sort of thing that someone else has written and they're not going to find that out simply because it's straight to text. That's different if it's handwriting, right? But that's, anyway, another issue. The second thing is cheating itself. So they are going to have some sort of way to lock down your browser, and they're going to say that you have to start the test and finish it on the same sort of laptop. So you got to log into the certain laptop, make sure it's ready, and then take the test on that one. Look, you guys are all working from home. I don't know if you guys are doing the same sort of thing, but oftentimes I'll be on the computer here. Sherry will be sitting right next to me with her separate computer, and she certainly could be looking up answers and giving them to me if I had to type something. Here's my argument about all this. 45 minutes is not a lot of time. If you are wasting your time trying to find a good way to cheat within that 45-minute time window, my guess is you're going to spend a lot more time trying to find good sources than if you just sat down and typed out the thing, right? Like I said, I think the graders are going to be fairly liberal. The worst thing in the world would be for you to try to implement some sort of mass cheating scheme and then waste all your time Google searching moronic answers and then copying and pasting them into your box, which ultimately are going to be found out as plagiarized. Seems dumb to me, right? I'm not worried about your guys' skill sets. You guys can certainly take this test and do very well. So I just would think that cheating would not be in your venue. Other students might find that it's beneficial, but I'm just not really concerned with it. I think it would be a waste of time for you. And while we're still on my AP, I'm showing you right now what the AP essay prompt is for this week. I try to find something that was really, how do I say it, obtuse, hard to understand, lots of big words, because I wanted to kind of focus on unraveling what's actually being said in the midst of everything else that's going on. So as you read through this, you'll notice that there's a lot of big vocabulary in here. I think I've taken off the actual timed part of it. So you should have as much time as you need to read this and to respond. I'm not asking for a full-blown essay. I'm asking for a 3-paragraph essay that just kind of walks through this whole thing and establishes a thesis, brings forth one bit of evidence that supports the thesis, and then wraps it up. But the other thing I want to encourage you guys to do is look up all the words that you don't know. We don't do a whole lot of vocabulary in this class because I feel like vocabulary is kind of organic. You learn it as you read it and as you pull stuff out of it. And so I want to encourage you to do that, and that's why I took off the time limit on this one. So read it. It's interesting. It's about, a coming of age, a girl growing up and kind of determining who she is in life. A little bit older, not too old, but like I said, the vocabulary is a little bit trying, and so I want you to focus on that. The other thing I'm going to point out to you is the way in which, look at that they do footnotes here. You'll see that when I hover over these little blue hyperlinks, it shows me what ragging means teasing. Number 2, unaesthetic is unattractive and ugly. And then boarding school students who pay fees in exchange for regular lodging and meals at school. Anyway, you can kind of get a feel for how they actually are going to implement these hyperlinks and definitions into the prompt itself. So I encourage you to write that out, 3-paragraph essay, take a position, argue it, and then we'll go from there. The article I'm giving you this week is published by the Rolling Stone. It's by Matt Taibbi, called Russia Isn't Dividing Us, Our Leaders Are. It was published back in February 24th of this year, which was only like a month and a couple days ago, but it seems like a lifetime ago. It was right in the middle of the Democratic primary, which is still going on, right? Bernie Sanders is still running against Biden. It looks like Biden's going to win, but Bernie hasn't given up yet. And what this was doing was it was talking about the whole Russia tainting issue, right? That the new political dynamic is if Putin supports you, or if they can point to a finger and say, Russia likes you as a candidate, that you're now tainted goods. And it's the same allegation that Democrats have thrown against Trump. They're doing it against Bernie. They've done it against a couple different people. But this is kind of the new politics. And so I wanted you to read this and kind of wrap your mind around what's happening. If you've never read Matt Taibbi, I'm just going to tell you right now, I very much like Matt Taibbi. I feel in this world he's one of the more honest journalists that are out there. He is not conventional. He swears sometimes. He offers his opinion in the midst of it and makes jokes about things. But I find him to be well sourced in the midst of him joking. He's always citing back to something. He lived for a long period of time actually in Russia. He was actually a journalist embedded in Russia for a period of time. So he does know Russia quite a bit. And so I kind of trust him a little bit more when it comes to these Russian issues. But read it, Matt Taibbi, really good. And you can, of course, follow his hyperlinks. He's got hyperlinks everywhere to kind of show you what he's thinking. It's not overly long, but by the time you get to the end of it, you'll see what he considers to be the new way, the new paradigm in which people fight. And like his argument, like the title actually says, Russia isn't dividing us, our leaders are. And the idea is that in today's politics, it is important to destroy your candidate, even if that means, I don't know, circumventing the political process, right? So that's his overarching argument, that we are so eager to take down people and associate them with Russia and then write them off completely that it actually does long-term harm to our democracy by doing so. So I encourage you to read it. I'm not asking for a reading log. Do you guys remember reading logs? Aren't you so happy that I'm not making you do reading logs? So I'm not asking for a reading log. I'm just asking for a couple sentences. I want you to just kind of tell me what your thoughts are on the piece. Do you like his writing style? Do you like the way he presents these arguments? Do you find this helpful, or do you find it detracting when he makes jokes in the midst of it, right? When he kind of is not so formal all the time. Does that detract from it, or does it actually help you understand it a little bit better? And your final assignment is another typing challenge, NitroType. Here's what I want to do this time. I want to increase everyone's word per minute by 5 words per minute, right? So either that or do 10 races to at least improve your percentage right. But that's what I want to do. Whichever one you reach first, if you increase your words per minute by 5 points or you race 10 races, that's all I'm asking for this time. Last time, you guys actually kind of impressed me. A lot of you guys were in the 70s, which is really kind of impressive. Wymore was at 81, which I think is the fastest for the AP lane group, which is pretty impressive. I don't know if you looked at any of the leaderboards, but there's some people, I would say that a good typist is around 100 words per minute. It's a very good typist, but some of those people are typing at 190 words per minute, which is insane. That's like on a whole other level. But I encourage you to keep practicing. We'll do this the next couple of weeks and then get into a position where we can type very quickly for the actual AP test. All right, we got a 66 last time. Plus 5 is 71. Got a new car, pink top. Should go do this. Boom! Shakalaka. Alright, see? That's how you do it. Increase it by 5. And that's it for the week. My main goal at this point is to keep you practiced and working on those skills that we've developed throughout the year and keeping you sharp and focused. We've only got a couple more weeks left, and I don't want you to kind of fall into the malaise of just watching YouTube videos forever and TikToking and all the other stuff that you're inclined to do. And then when you turn around and realize the AP test is the next day and say, oh, what the heck am I supposed to do on this? My goal is if you do just the minor amount that I'm asking every week, that you'll stay focused and on top of it, and you'll do much better. And so I'm not asking for a lot. I'm just going to kind of keep you prodded along so you remember what we talked about. And that's my main goal. I hope you guys are all staying safe. Hope you got enough supplies to keep you contented for the next couple weeks. Who knows what's going to happen as this thing kind of keeps going along. But we'll talk to you later.